Alright, so welcome to the Food Hygiene and Sanitations, okay, FSC's 40104 subject, okay. So we're going to start with the first chapter. I'm going to break the chapter 1, Introduction to Food Safety, to two parts, part 1 and part 2. So the first part, we're going to look at a few areas, okay. The first one is we're going to discuss about what is foodborne disease. So what is foodborne disease? When you look at the name itself, foodborne means is carried by food, which means that a disease that actually caused by food, okay, or more commonly is known as food poisoning, okay. So foodborne disease, sometimes also known as food poisoning. So how do you get food poisoning or foodborne disease is when you consume, okay, when the person consume contaminated food, okay, a food that is contaminated, it can be anything, okay, it can be from the microorganisms, it could be due to chemicals or so forth, okay. So I'm going to discuss that more in the later sections. So what's the consequences of getting a food poisoning? I think some of you may actually have experienced this before, okay. So if you eat food that is contaminated, okay, within a few hours, okay, or maybe half a day, you will start to have some symptoms, like for example, you feel like vomit, okay, diarrhea, okay, abdominal cramps, okay, that usually these two are linked together. Sometimes you got headaches, fever. Fever is one of the body response, okay, to foreign, like for example, the bacteria and so forth, yeah. Sometimes because of the sickness, too much diarrhea, you may feel dizziness. Okay, so so all these are the symptoms if you get food poisoning. Okay, next slide. Alright, so why should we care about the foodborne disease? If you look at the WHO statistics, it's actually quite scary here. In the world, 1 in 10 will be fall ill due to food poisoning. Okay, and of course, it can lead to death. Okay, about 23 million healthy lives were lost, okay, which means death, caused by the foodborne disease, okay. And those that can be deadly is basically children, okay. Alright, so children can be very susceptible or very easily get ill because of the foodborne disease, okay. The children are in the what we call the group, okay. There's what we call the high risk group, okay. So children are one of the high risk group, so we need to take extra precautions, okay, to safeguard their food, okay, to make sure their food we serve to them is safe, that is free from contamination. There are a lot of factors, okay, that may be responsible for incident of foodborne illnesses, okay. Recently, okay, not recently, I mean, as in, if you're looking at the history, how people eat in the past and how we eat nowadays is very different, okay. So there's a change in eating patterns. If you look at it, nowadays a lot of people are saying that, okay, don't cook, okay. The less you cook, the more nutrient you have in your food, okay. And so nowadays we promote, okay, a lot of people promote to eat fresh, okay, or minimally processed food. Okay, so fresh is not cooked basically, okay, so eat directly. Like for example, they will prefer to ask you to eat salad, okay, which is not cooked. Fruit obviously is not cooked, okay, so all these are fresh items, okay. Sometimes they would ask you to eat, like for example, sashimi, okay, because it's not cooked, so it's a Japanese fish, okay, sliced fish. And sometimes they ask you for minimal process, which means that not really processed, not treated with high heat, okay, blanching maybe, okay, and those that is minimally processed, because the change in this eating pattern is, they says that processed food usually, or high heat treatment or processed food, usually they have less nutrient. So they ask you, we have been promoted to eat more of fresh and minimally processed. Okay, but that is not so good. The reason is because if you're looking at those fresh and minimally processed, they usually did not subject to high heat. Okay, and because of that, the microorganism like bacteria, all this can survive. Alright, and because of nowadays we got more and more of all those fast food, okay, fast food chain, like for example, very easy to see is that they are getting more and more of, for example, the family marts, okay, 7-Eleven, for example, McDonald's, for example, the Old Town White Coffee. All these, they have those food that is processed. Okay, so what happened, right, is that the food, okay, the food has to be cooked in the centralized kitchen. Okay, all these food are in the centralized kitchen. Okay, for example, if you're trying to eat like those in the fridge, chilled meal in the 7-Eleven or the Family Marts, okay, the chilled meal is basically those you get from the chiller, and you pay the counter, they will take the food and put in the microwave oven and heat up. Okay, so that one is called, we call chilled meal. Okay, so what happened, right, is that they do not cook there. Basically, it came from central kitchen. For example, if the central kitchen is in KL, okay, Kuala Lumpur, so there's a branch in Ipoh, so they will need to transport the food from KL to Ipoh and sell. So what happened is that because of the network, okay, that across Malaysia, so the time travel for the food has been prolonged. Okay, so there's an increased risk of the contaminations, okay, of this food. And also there's a growing trend of eating food prepared outside of home. Okay, as you can see recently, there are more and more of people ordering Grab food, okay, Food Panda, all these food is because of also more and more convenient. Okay, people are lazy to cook at home, so they order from outside. Okay, so the foodborne disease also, it can be due to the lifespan. Nowadays you can see the human population, their lifespan is getting longer and longer, and because of the rapid growing, more and more babies are born, and there are more children as well. And because of this, we got more babies and children, and also people are getting longer and longer lifespans. The elderly, this group has become more and more, and this group is what we call the high risk consumers. Okay, this group, they are very sensitive to foodborne illnesses, okay, or food poisoning, because they can because of their immune system. Okay, children, babies, you see their immune systems are not that strong yet. For elderlies, because of their age, okay, or those sick people, okay, immunocompressed individuals, or pregnant women, okay, their immune system are usually not as is weakened, okay, is weakened. So these children maybe is not yet have the immunity. For elderlies or these others, they actually weaken. So these are high risk consumers. If you are preparing food for these high risk consumers, you need to be very, very careful. Okay, so same to you guys. If you're serving people to this, serving food to these people, you need to be extra careful. Okay. Okay, next section. So what is food contamination. Okay, food contaminations is basically the introductions or presence of any other agents that might be render food unsafe or unsuitable for human consumptions. Okay, so the agents can be it can be physical, it can be microbiological, okay, or it can be chemicals, which we're going to introduce in the following slides. Okay, so contamination can be defined as any subjects or objects in the food that makes the food objectionable. Okay, so what this means, right, is that, for example, if you contaminated your food, okay, with just say some the mold, okay, so your bread left it there and then they got contaminated with mold and it start to grow. Okay, so when you take out the bread and you see there's a green patch over there, okay, what do you say? It's objectionable. You don't want to eat. Or you can be contaminated with bacteria. So there's, for example, bacteria. Your milk has been open for 2 weeks, okay, and you have contaminated with a bacteria. So when after just say 2 or 3 weeks you forgot about the milk, after like 2 or 3 weeks or maybe 1 month, you open up and say, oh, the smell, the sour smell, okay, that is what we call objectionable. Okay, so this food, contaminated food, either by the bacteria or by mold, is objectionable. Okay, the consumer cannot accept it. So the food hazard or food contaminant, it can either be inherited, okay, which means inherent, inherent, which means that they are found naturally in the food. Okay, for example, like mushroom. Okay, the mushrooms, they sometimes they contains like poison that is part of them. Okay, or maybe what we call like peanuts. Okay, sometimes peanuts, they have they are well known to have what we call the alpha toxins in there. Okay, due to the growing of the mold or the what we call the fungus in the peanuts. Okay, the tree, during the tree there. And the second type of contaminant is where they get from another source. Okay, so they do not have it in the first place. They call it from another source, or what we call cross contamination. Okay, which is what I'm going to tell you next. So what is cross-contamination? It's basically the transfer of contaminant from one source to another. For example, you have raw food, okay, like just say the uncooked meat. And what happens, right, is after you cook, you leave it on the plate. So without on the plate, so you just leave it there. And then you go and work on more of the raw food, okay, like the meat, okay, raw meat. So when you handle the raw meat and then you did not wash your hands and you go and serve the cooked food, the cooked meat. So what happens is that whatever you touch of bacteria, you may actually cross-contaminate with the cooked meat. Sometimes it could due to the cross-contamination between equipments and also the cooked or ready-to-eat food. Like for example, if just say that you go to preheat, okay, from the microwave oven, and the microwave oven inside is contaminated with mold or maybe with bacteria. So if you cook your food in the microwave oven, okay, equivalent of, for example, contaminated oven, if you cook your food inside, it may cross-contaminate, which means that the bacteria can be transferred to the cooked food, okay, during the heating. Okay, this is what we call cross-contamination. It's the transfer of contaminants. So the most, actually cross-contamination is very dangerous if you involve the contaminating of food that is clean. So What it means by food that is clean is the food that is ready to be served. So you are not going to do any more cooking or heating or cleaning or anything. So you're going to eat it. Okay. Those that is very susceptible to this cross-contamination is like ready to eat meals. Nowadays, because of the convenience, there are more and more of the ready to eat meals. Okay, so you can really see, like for example, in the family marts, you can see on the chiller there, there are a lot of ready to eat meals. It ranges from the meals, okay, like for example the bento, okay, teriyaki chicken. Then it can be like for example those sandwich, okay, sandwich is also considered ready to eat meal. Then you got desserts as well. All this, you are not going to do any more cooking. Reheating is not cooking. Yeah, reheating is only just to make it warm. It's not cooking. Alright. So what happened is that if this food is being contaminated, okay, and being eaten, is going to be very, very risky. Okay, you can get food poisoning. Okay, so it's very, very getting more and more of all this. Okay, just some examples over here. You can see over here. This is a typical food that you can get from the airplane. Okay, the picture shown is the Emirates airplane food. So you can see from here, they are mostly ready to eat food. They do not cook. This food did not cook in the plane. They actually cook in the centralized kitchen. They pack it. They chill it. Okay, so they just reheat in the plane. So you can see from here, the rice with chickens, okay, all these are ready to eat meals, okay. And you got all these bean salads, okay, the bread roll, all these are ready to eat. They are not going to cook anymore. So when they transfer from, just say, the centralized kitchen, okay, where they cook the airplane meals, okay, when they transport into the airport into the plane, if any of these process is being cross-contaminate the food, then the passenger will be in trouble. Okay, when they eat, they might get food poisoning. Okay, so it's very interesting that if you look at what the pilot and the co-pilot, they usually have to eat different meals. Okay, they cannot eat the same meal, because to avoid, if just say that one of the teriyaki chicken is cross-contaminated, if the pilot ate it, okay, they got food poison, but the co-pilot eat another meal, which is fine. So the co-pilot can actually continue with the flight. Okay, so this is one of the reasons pilot and co-pilots, they usually have different meals. Okay, buffet line as well is very, very susceptible to cross-contamination. Like for example, all this food, okay, you can see from the buffet line is open. Anyone can actually go there and take the food. So if you just say that the person used their hand and then pick up the food and then accidentally touch one of the food beside it, okay, then the food, okay, will get cross-contaminated. If you take that food and eat it, and then you might get food poisoning. Alright? And sometimes people, when they take it, they take the raw meals using the what we call the tongue. Okay, they take, for example, the raw meat. Okay, and then the same tongue they use it to take cooked meat and so forth. All these are easily cross-contaminated. Okay, that is why I really sometimes quite worry about the food that we eat in the buffet line. Okay, or some people they sneeze, okay, or cough onto the food, then you might get the virus when you consume the food from the that is cross-contaminated. Alright, this is the one that I have mentioned earlier. There are 3 types of food contaminants. They are physical hazard, okay, chemical hazard, or biological hazard. Alright, so I'm going to go through one by one. So what is physical hazard? Physical hazard is basically those that are foreign objects that are found in the food. For example, contaminants that are present because they were part of the original raw ingredients like bones, okay, woody plant material, seeds or pips. Okay, so all these can be contaminated in the meals. Like for example, some of the bones, when they chop the meat, the bones shattered, and then it was incorporated in meats. Like for example, some of the meatball. Okay, so what happens is that if you eat the meatball directly, okay, and you bite, you can get the sharp bone stuck on your throat. Okay, so that is very, very dangerous. Some other foreign objects, like for example, it can come from insects, it can come from the hair woods, glass, metals, plastic, and so forth. Okay, recently, like for example, I have seen before that what we call the brush, the metal brush, they use it to clean, they found in pasta, spaghetti. So when they just eat the time, they say, that's actually a wire metal. Okay, so that is very, very dangerous when you serve that to small kids. Okay. So what are the problem with the physical hazard is that it can cause injuries. Okay, it can cut inside the mouth, throats. Okay, sometimes choking as well. So it's very, very dangerous. Okay, and it can cause very serious damage to your internal organ as well. Okay. Next one is chemical hazard. Chemical hazards, those can be either naturally occurring toxic substance in food, like for example poison and the allergens. Poison, like for example, the poison mushroom. Okay, if you eat the mushroom that is poisonous, then you can actually lead to food poisoning. Yeah. Okay. Or for example, the pufferfish. Okay, pufferfish, if you did not process it properly, the meat of the pufferfish can contaminate it with their own poisons. Okay, when they eat it, then you can get poison. Yeah, allergen, like for example those in the peanuts. Okay, like those if you eat the peanuts, you are allergic to peanuts, the allergen in the peanut can cause problem. It can also be chemicals that accidentally added into food. Like for example, like when you have some detergent, you actually spill there. Sometimes it can be chemical, like you put the spray, okay, insect spray that is next to your food. Okay, so if you accidentally spray some of the chemicals, it can go to your raw food. Okay, so it's very, very dangerous. Okay, eat poison, or sometimes it can be due to the adding of. Okay, so it can be the food chemicals they add inside, permitted or not permitted preservatives. Okay, so that is very, very dangerous. So chemical hazards may cause harm or injuries. It actually depends. The same thing actually depends on type of chemicals. Yeah, some can be immediate. Okay, within a few minutes you can get pain, severe vomiting, and so forth. But sometimes, okay, these chemicals can last for quite some time. Okay, it will build out. It won't cause immediate problem. If you build out for long term, okay, that's why there's more and more incident of cancers. Okay, is because of eating food that is contaminated with chemicals. Yeah, and this has been built out for many, many years. Okay, so food chemical contaminants like the food allergens, like the most common one is like peanuts, shellfish, okay, eggs, cow's milk, tomatoes. Yeah, so this can be a potential allergens, and you need to actually, if you look at the food labeling, okay, we're going to discuss in the next chapter. Food labeling actually tells us that we need to actually declare these ingredients in the packaging. Okay, because this can cause a severe or possible life-threatening reaction to a person. Yeah, so that's why nowadays, if you're looking at the food label, they will say that this food, even though they do not have peanut, they will say that this food are processed using the same equipment as those processing the peanuts. It can be peanuts, it can be like, for example, milk, and it can be egg and so forth. Okay, because if the same equipment process like eggs, all this, right, it can cause cross contamination. Even very small amount can actually trigger. Okay, for example, got one of the incidents, okay, I read maybe last year, okay, that there was this kid, okay, the what's it called, the stewardess, okay, in the airplane, okay, the work in the airplane, the stewardess, they know that the kid, okay, one of the passenger is allergic to peanuts, so the kids have actually have a special meal, okay, that do not have peanuts. But suddenly, the kid actually have a severe allergic. You can start to see that the whole face start to swollen, okay, and it tried to it almost choked itself, okay, because of the allergic. Okay, luckily one of the passenger, they have the EpiPen, and they should have inject into the kid, and then to reduce the allergic reactions. So they are very puzzled about why the kid can have the severe allergic reactions. And after investigation, they realized that it's actually the allergen, the peanut allergen, is not in the kid's meal. It's because of the people surrounding them, okay, surrounding him. The people, like for example, in the plane, they do serve like peanuts in a small packet, okay, in a small packet. So what happens is that usually some people they open, okay. You know that in a plane usually the pressure is quite low. So what happens is that the packaging of the peanut is bigger, okay, because it's more bigger. So when you open up the time, okay, there will have some air coming out from the package, okay. So what happened, right, is that because there are a lot of passengers eating the peanuts, and when they open, it will spray some of the like peanuts powder out into the air, okay, those that you cannot see. So when they spray out more and more, what happens is that the kid sniff in it and cause the allergic reactions. So this is quite scary, okay. Just a little bit of the food allergens, it can come, you didn't eat it, but it actually is being spread from the air, okay, that can actually cause the allergic reactions. Okay, so it's very sad that there are a lot of cases happen before. So if you know the person is allergic, okay, or when you create a food, make sure that you have sufficient warning, okay, and please make sure that you know that the food, okay, is not contaminated with all these allergens. Yeah, so sometimes, right, it can be quite confusing. The food, you see that there's no peanuts, but if you actually blend it into their sauce, make sure you declare it in their the label. Okay, written there that it may contains like in the label, it may contains like peanuts, it may contains like shellfish and so forth. Okay, so the person will be will not touch the food. Okay. The last one is the food contamination, is the biological hazards. Biological hazard I'm going to talk more in the next chapter. Okay. Is microorganisms that includes like bacteria, the worms, parasitic worms, fungus, and viruses. Alright, so that is the end of part 1. Okay, any questions, please look at the instruction in the times. Okay, if you have any questions, you can actually ask. Okay, you can ask in the Padlet. Okay, how you log into the Padlet. You actually can look at the times are written there, the login address, as well as a password to enter into the Padlet. So if you ask a question over there, I will answer it. Okay, for any of the questions, any questions. Okay, so you should ask. Alright, thank you very much.